It's by life, ayy. Yeah, we live that by life, last of a dying breed. And we throw a bread, you could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog, it's all about the legacy. Yeah, we live that by life, last of a dying breed. And we throw a bread, you could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog, it's all about the legacy. It go. It's by life to the afterlife. It's by life, ayy. Yeah, we live that by life, last of a dying breed. And we throw a bread, you could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog, it's all about the legacy. Yeah, we live that by life, last of a dying breed. And we throw a bread, you could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog, it's all about the legacy. It go. It's by life to the afterlife. It's by life, ayy. Yeah, we live that by life, last of a dying breed. And we throw a bread, you could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog, it's all about the legacy. Yeah, we live that by life, last of a dying breed. And we throw a bread, you could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog, it's all about the legacy. It go. It's by life to the afterlife. It's by life, ayy. Yeah, we live that by life, last of a dying breed. And we throw a bread, you could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog, it's all about the legacy. Yeah, we live that by life, last of a dying breed. And we throw a bread, you could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog, it's all about the legacy. It go. It's by life to the afterlife. It's by life, hey. Yeah, we live that by life. Last of a dying breed, and we throw a bread. You could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog. It's all about the legacy. Yeah, we live that by life. Last of a dying breed, and we throw a bread. You could tell from our pedigree. Bring your dog for training, but we treat him more like therapy. We do this for the Lord, dog. It's all about the legacy. It go
Welcome to another episode of Let Your Dog Talk. I'm your host, Eric Gonzalez, and my four-legged companion, K9 Judah. Judah, Mark. It's a good boy. How are you doing today? Doing good? All right, cool. What's up, Papa? Stand. Stand. Circle. We. Circle. Down. Good. All right, guys. So, what we talking about today? We're actually talking about dogs that are aggressing towards their owner. So this week we had a video go viral. A young African American woman seems to be on her bed, and there was a white dog. Apparently, one of her dogs looked like a American Bulldog / pit bull type of dog, and the dog was aggressing in a very very tenacious manner towards its owner. And I got like at least maybe like 5 people sent me the video asking me about it. You know, like what went wrong, what's going on, what's going on, explain this to us or what have you. So the fact that several people send it to me, and there's a still picture there. The fact that some people have sent it to me, I was a little concerned about obviously addressing it because so many people were intrigued by it, and it can be somewhat confusing. So I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. I'll address it. I was actually gonna address it sooner, but like do it like a special edition or what have you. But we didn't do it. I figured, you know what, we'll just wait till Wednesday. We'll knock it out. Well, while I was waiting for Wednesday to come around, somebody sent me another video of a gentleman, apparently a pit bull type of dog as well. The owner apparently went to kiss his dog, and the dog bit his owner's lips off. And here's the video. Can we view the video on? So here's the video, guys. So he's kicking the dog off of him, chasing him. Mind you, this is his dog. You can see him trying to fight the dog off. And that's the conclusion of the video. Let's play that once again. He's sitting down, kissing him, boom. Dog bit his lip, and now he's kicking the dog off. Apparently, he triggered the dog's aggression. So, this video was sent to me this week as well, a couple of days after that video with the young lady. The young lady, the African American woman on her bed, and her dog was aggressing, and so it popped up in a lot of sites. Besides, about 5 people who sent it to me personally. So the question is, what went wrong? What happened? So there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong. I'm gonna give you a scenario. Several years back, maybe in, I would say maybe 2013, maybe before then, 2009, something like that. Several years ago, they had reached out to me. I had to write an article, what have you, because they reached out to me because an owner was about to go on a trip. An owner was going to go on a trip, and while the husband was washing the cars and running errands, the wife went to bathe the animal before they went on a trip. I don't know if they were going to take the dog or not, but they were bathing the dog prior to them leaving. And she was doing so in the pool area, in the yard area, with a 9-year-old daughter. This was in Broward County. And unfortunately, the dog bit the lady in the neck and killed her instantly. Mind you, this is the owner of the dog and did so in front of her 9-year-old daughter. Now that's traumatic, extremely traumatic. All right, so, I mean, if you go online, you'll see, owner gets attacked by a dog. It happens often. But we're bringing it up now because, again, I was asked to bring some kind of clarity and understanding as per what happened this week with those two incidents. So we see the young lady with her own dog, and according to that video, we got still shots, but according to the video, it shows the young lady being somewhat intimidated, trying to control the scenario. There's also a shot, they pan the camera, there's a dog eating while in the same room while this is occurring with the owner and the other dog. They show in the video the lady's trying to calm her dog down, and the dog is aggressive. The dog seems to be confused, aggressing, calming down, and then aggressing even more. And I was actually anticipating the worst. Gladly for her, nothing severely occurred as far as what the video displayed. All it showed was an aggressive dog seeming to want to attack its owner, and that's a major problem. I get a lot of phone calls where they'll tell me, yeah, I've had the dog since he was a puppy. The dog's a year and a half, and suddenly he's aggressive, something that he's never done before. And so that's not necessarily the case. What I want to focus on today is talk a little bit about psychological training, okay? So psychological training consists of the following. If I go to your house and I knock on the door and I leave because you didn't answer, you weren't home or what have you, the dog being home, being triggered by the knock or the doorbell, most likely will bark. While the dog is barking, the dog doesn't understand the scenario of me, trying to visit the owner or what have you. What the dog figures out is, after a certain amount of barks, most likely, if there's nobody home, the knocking of the door will cease. So what happens is, days, weeks, months of certain behaviors can be triggering your dog in the realm of aggression and you not be aware of it. So, for example, we're using the door as an example. You're working, the lawn guy says, listen, I'm here. He goes, no worry, go in the yard. The dog is secure in the house. So while the lawnmower is going for 20, 30, 40 minutes, while they're cutting your lawn, the dog is barking. After a set period of time, the noise ceases, the guy leaves, okay. Same thing with the pool guy. The pool guy comes, there's images or what have you, the guy's going back and forth, the dog's inside the house looking from the window, the glass door, barking. Eventually the guy leaves. Again, days, weeks, and months, we're building the dog's aggression. We don't even know it. That's called psychological training. Psychological training implying that while things are occurring in life, while you're working, while you're at school and things like that, the dog is being trained and you're not even aware of it. All right? Dogs are creatures of habit. They're creatures of nature. So every Monday, the guy comes. Every Tuesday, the other guy comes. Once every 2 weeks, certain services are done. And in our absence, the dog is put in a position to defend its territory unknowingly. In other words, we call that handler error. When a lot of things occur with the animal, a lot of times it's mistakes we make as owners, not knowing how to communicate and comprehend certain things. And so that's very important to understand when you're dealing with dogs, is the psychological training that occurs during your absence. That's very important to understand, because in doing so, in understanding that, you can later, as days, weeks, and months go on with your interaction, you'll be able to control that a little bit better. Now, I'll give you another example, something that I come across often when it comes to couples, a major factor in psychological training. This is something I want you to be aware of as well as a dog owner yourself. So, for example, you have women or a couple that own a dog, or even a family member, a daughter, or what have you, of a household. Doesn't matter, mom and daughter, or father, this, that, whatever, brothers involved. It really doesn't matter. One thing about women, unlike men, they go through what we call a monthly cycle, contingent they don't have no medical issues, and they're of age. They go through a monthly cycle which consists of blood flow for an average of 7 days. Now, what happens is, even though the blood flow may occur for 2 or 3 days, spotting or what have you, it's a cycle of about 7 days, in that right when it's coming in and right when it's finishing, even though some may bleed for the full 7, some may bleed for 2 or 3 days. What's important to understand with that is that, for example, A woman that's going through a discomfort, she may say, honey, make me some tea, please. Can you let me rest by myself? I feel uncomfortable. I'm feeling some kind of way. Would you mind hanging out on the couch? Would you mind, sleeping the night, over there because I'm feeling uncomfortable and it's just a discomfort. And so many times while the husband or boyfriend or what have you is going through that procedure for on a monthly basis, often month in and month out, month in and month out, where a week of that month there's gonna be a sense of discomfort. The dog rarely gets that discouragement. In other words, while the boyfriend or the husband is being told to please give me a break, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I'm cramping, the dog is never gonna get that type of rejection. It's on the contrary. While he's sleeping on the couch or what have you, most likely the puppy's gonna be right by your side as always. And so what happens with dogs is this is very important to remember. Females go through a cycle every 6 months or so. Even if they get operated, their body goes through changes that the dog are familiar with. As well as a male dog may not go through a cycle, but a male goes through an infatuation because a man is driven by the blood of the female dog to entice him to be intimate with her for the sake of puppies or what have you. So even though your wife, your girlfriend, or what have you is not a dog, the fact that she has a blood flow that's identical to what entices them, a lot of times while the boyfriend or the husband is being rejected and pushed, to the couch, the dog being right there, there's a bond that occurs on a monthly basis, month in and month out. And what's very important to remember is that a lot of times when life kicks in and couples go through their, let's say, a discomforting moment, an argument, or what have you, where voices are raised, a lot of times you'll have the dog get in between and find a power struggle to determine who is going to defend. In many instances, it'll defend the spouse and or the food giver. One of the things that I highly recommend, and I tell a lot of my couples, is whenever the spouse is on her cycle, I always encourage that the food manipulation during that week occurs from the significant other, from the male counterpart. Contingent is it's a man-woman relationship or what have you. So that being said, when a woman is on her cycle, during that week, I would highly recommend that the husband of the household, brothers of the household, partake in the dietary control. Why? Because I want to balance the power between the couples in that she's not only the food giver and or the person with the blood flow creating that attraction. I want to make sure that the power is balanced by allowing the man to interact so that if life kicks in and an argument occurs between the two, we don't have an issue with the animal in which the animal will remain neutral rather than favoring one over the other. That's very important because I've seen it throughout the many years that I've been involved in the industry, 20 plus years, where couples have gotten rid of dogs because it aggressed towards one of the spouses in the midst of a discussion or argument or what have you. Going back to that, when it comes to the lady in the pool who actually lost her life through the attack, you could ask me at that point, well, what happened there? Contingent, the blood flow favor, what have you. Take into consideration that I don't know the scenario, I just give synopsis. But one thing I can say is if this man has control of this animal, he's feeding him or what have you, and the spouses or that spouse is not interacting with the animal in a balanced fashion, I can see where the favoritism can be, where he'll respect the male and not the woman. Dogs don't understand that we go out to work, we go to school, we pay mortgages or what have you. One of the things to remember when you're dealing with a relationship pertaining a handler, owner, and their dog, it's important to understand that the dogs don't understand the bills, right? So when a person leaves and comes back, the person is basically putting themselves in a position as a visitor in the animal's home. What do I mean by that? If I go to your home right now and I tell you to move furniture around, we just met, or even if we're in a relationship, I just for no reason tell you to move things around, you may look at me like I'm crazy. Like, Where's that coming from? Well, it's important to understand that when it comes to your dog, he doesn't understand the bills are being paid and you're going out to work and all. He doesn't understand that. So what happens is, as you're leaving and returning, leaving usually for 8+ hours at a time, whether it's school and or work, you're usually, by the time, let's say an average day is 8 hours. By the time you get to work, 20, 30 minutes, traffic, what have you, you're looking at an easily 10-hour day, 12-hour day away from the home. So when you return to the house, you're going to wind up dealing with an animal who literally psychologically believes it lives there. You don't. You're just a visitor, periodic visitor. Understood? That's very important. I remember receiving a phone call one time, and it was a Yorkshire Terrier that was urinating on the dining room table. So you ask yourself, well, how could it create that habit? Well, when I went to analyze the situation, what I came across was a dog that was being confined in a designated area where the kitchen and the dining room was at for, again, 10, 12 hours a day. They were business owners. So though they may come home for lunch or what have you, the majority of the day, the dog was confined in that area while they were at work doing business. So what happens is they return from home to try to have a family dinner where on the dining room table that the dog has been responsible for throughout the full day, 8, 10, 12-hour days, weeks, and months like that. So all of a sudden, they get into a habit of eating dinner. They push the dog out of the way. What does the dog do? The dog urinates on the table to indicate its ownership of that environment. Why? Because while the dog is there 10, 12 hours a day, they're not nowhere to be found. They get home around dinner time. The first thing they want to do is exclude the animal from that environment that has been involved in for the duration of the day. Again, for weeks, months at a time, or what have you. So it's important to understand that there are a lot of handling errors that we make that create these problems upon us. All right. So behavior issues is exactly that. We create handling mistakes. We create this behavior issue that because we don't know how to train them appropriately in the obedience fashion of lining up to what we want and to comprehend to comprehend what we want from them. This is why we have the problems we have. How do you rectify that? Communication is everything. Communication is key. What do I use? I always stress the following: verbiage, body language, and equipment. Once you put those three together and use them appropriately, you can get your information across accordingly and get what you want as far as the objective of the animal. All right. So what are we dealing with? We got these dogs that are attacking. Now, the first scenario of the young lady with the dog on her bed. Now, I'm not there. I don't know. We can go here and there and make determinations and try to say is this or that. But one thing that I don't like dogs to be on my personal furniture. Why? Because as I'm sitting here, I'm sweating or what have you, my pores are being left behind on this chair, as well as on my bed, on my couches, or anywhere where I find comfort in my home base environment. So what happens is, if we're not careful, by the compassion that we want to convey to the animals, we wind up, and I kind of mentioned this previously in my Mark episode 2 or 3, where we talked about the mark. It's important to understand that when your pores are on an object like a sofa, a bed, or what have you, and let's say your dog is sleeping on the bed, which a lot of people have a tendency of doing that, and you wind up running to the bathroom or what have you, you're back and forth. What tends to happen is, again, just like the Yorkie that was there for many hours, while you're getting up, getting coffee, going to the bathroom, your dog remains there. A lot of times, a lot of owners allow the dog to have free range, so while you're at work, the dog is on the couch, the dog is on the bed, or what have you. And so if you're not careful, those pores are on there. Your pores are on there. And so in your absence, you're really not absent in the fact that your odor remains there. So it's considered like a residual odor of who you are. Every one of us are made up of a bouquet of odors. You get a flower of a bouquet, and you have roses, tulips, this, that, whatever, what kind of, and then you bring it together, and it's called a bouquet. We make up what is called a bouquet of odors. So and the reason is there's nobody that's identical. I like cotton, you like linen, I use whatever on my hair as far as shampoo, you use this conditioner, that, you brush teeth with this, that, or whatever. So a combination of what we wash our clothes with, all of these different factors allows us to become a unique individual, like a fingerprint. So what happens is, for example, if I'm gonna get a dog to find the bad guy, I'm gonna try to get an article of his because there's no odor out there like his. So if I go and I get an article of his undergarments or what have you, we can use that as a scent tool, and the dog will go behind that odor. And a lot of times there's a lot of success with that because there's a unique fingerprint bouquet of an odor of that individual. So what happens? Who knows with this scenario if at the end of the day the lady allowed the dog on the bed or what have you? Maybe she has the dog in the bed and she's pushing the dog off and the dog doesn't want to get off. Maybe the dog is under the impression that, why are you pushing me off of my bed? That's one possibility. We didn't take a still shot. I think I took a still shot. I just didn't send it to the engineer. But there was a dog, while this was occurring, there was a dog actually eating food. So another thing is a dog gets possessive. Now, it wasn't eating, but we don't know if the dog was eating prior to the other dog eating or what have you. So there was a lot of different factors to take into consideration when looking at what was going on. So there's a dog eating while this dog is aggressing towards the owner. So not knowing the pattern and the routine, it's difficult to determine exactly what. So we're kind of like just throwing it out there as to some other possibilities. One of the things that I would bet on more than anything is the dog has been psychologically trained, in other words, away from the direction of the owner, and the owner not knowing that, not knowing how to communicate, not knowing how to correct, not comprehending the signs. The dog probably was a passive dog as a puppy, as I've gotten a phone call to many situations as such where the dog started off passive and friendly and cute and wound up being a tenacious animal a year and a half later, 2 years later. All right, so there's a lot to take into consideration. Psychological training, psychological training, psychological training. So what does that say? If you're at home and you're at work and you don't know if you don't have eyes on your dog, it's possible your dog is actually being trained and you're not even aware of it, and not being aware of such behaviors occurring can cause you to get into a lot of trouble later where the dog winds up hurting you, as we see in this situation. The one situation, it was aggressing, while the other situation, the dog actually bit the owner's lips off, and according to the post, the dog got put to sleep the next day. Again, why would we have a dog to have to put him to sleep? You know what I'm saying? These dogs, in many instances, are therapeutic to us. They're like family or what have you. And so it's important to make sure that when we interact with these animals and we take on the responsibility to raise them, it's important to interact or have a relationship with, professionals, sonologists, dog trainers or what have you, such as myself. I'm one that I'm very giving. I love what I do. And so if you call me, I get phone calls often. I get a lot of text messages. Most of the times I don't even know who they are, but I love what I do. So they'll ask me a question and I'll give them a sincere response because I love what I do. And it's important that you find people like that in your environment, your city, in your state, to make sure you have that open door policy. Because when at the end of the day, many raise dogs like children, but they're not children, they're animals. And a lot of them have a lot of instincts that favor the wild, the wolf or what have you. So it's important that you comprehend that so that you'll be more responsible when you decide to take on the responsibility of embracing a four-legged companion for whatever purpose. And especially if you're going to take a dog that you're going to focus in the direction of protection, you want to make sure that the obedience, there's no neglect, or you want to make sure that the obedience is pretty much a few steps ahead of the protection. So as the obedience is elevated, you want to make sure that the protection is going with it so that you don't lose control of the animal. Because at the end of the day, these animals right here, their teeth are equipped to tear flesh. We got canines, but our canines are not intended to tear flesh. Theirs are. So when a dog decides to attack, it's not going to be nothing nice because they'll go through our flesh like butter. I've been bitten several times already, and it's nothing nice. Even one time when I was agitating a dog with no equipment, the equipment broke. I slipped, I fell, and the dog wound up landing on my head and actually opened my skull up. I remember I got cold suddenly. I had another trainer that I was developing, and so he was there to interact and kind of help me in the situation because I had a very tenacious dog on top of me. By slipping, the dog's equipment broke, and I had a dog with no equipment. I was pretty much at the mercy of the Most High, he looked out for me. He took care of me. But listen, my skull was open. It was probably about 2 inches long, and it opened up where I felt heaven. Probably because my skull got real cold. I called medical personnel within my family that were close by. They came, they attended to me, and all was well. It closed up well and everything like that. But I'm very familiar with injuries as such. I got bit here one time. Unexpectedly, I had my back towards a dog while attending another one. He was loose, grabbed my arm because he was agitated because of the dog that I was attending. It was a dog that was agitated. So while I was trying to calm it down, the dog bit me trying to get to the puppy. And it was like a full bite without equipment. So I'm very familiar with attacks and the type of damage they can do. I wound up getting all kind of stitches or what have you. My hand got infected. They said I would have waited another day. I could have died, all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, these attacks, these bites or what have you, they could change your life suddenly. As mentioned earlier, the woman in Broward, she died. As you see in the video that was shared earlier, the guy's lips were removed. How much is all that going to cost him? Does he have insurance? You know what I'm saying? If he doesn't have insurance, what his face is going to look like afterwards? So, at the end of the day, I'm a big advocate about having a four-legged companion as part of your home-based team, especially your security team or what have you, being that there's a lot of hostility right now during this desperate times of COVID-19 and everything that's going on and everybody's stressed out. So I'm a big advocate about having a dog. But if you're going to have a dog, you got to be responsible. And if you don't understand the psychology of the animal, understand that they train themselves psychologically based on pattern and routine, it's important that you embrace and surround yourself with people that are knowledgeable so they can help you through the journey. All right? So we've covered a lot. If there's any questions, please feel free to DM me, text me, or what have you. You guys that have access to my information, please feel free to reach out to me, and we're looking forward to helping you and your four-legged companion succeed. All right, guys? Listen, don't forget, we have our training services. Bite Life _Canine is our other page. We also have the podcast, which is Let Your Dog Talk. Actually, the initials, right? SHHH _ Let Your Dog Talk, initials LYDT, right? All right, the hand. Where's the infamous hand? Any questions, hand? Based on what I said, anything that I said that intrigues you, I know that you're a dog owner yourself, you're married. Did you have any questions or concerns about what I mentioned about the psychological training that occurs between the cycling and everything? So the question is the best way to defend when they're in the attack mode. So, for example, this one lady, there are several factors to consider. A lot of it has to do the position you're in, where you're at. This lady, unfortunately, she was on her bed. It seemed like her bed. She was on a bed, whether it was hers or not, but she was on a bed. The dog was kind of hurdled over her. I think she was kind of smart. She was a little anxious in the beginning, screaming. I think to scream wouldn't have been the proper thing to do. The dog was agile. She calmed down. She started calling out the dog's name. She started petting the animal. Now, mind you, this is her dog. The scenarios can vary depending on if you're walking and it's a stray dog, or if it's a neighbor's dog, or if it's a friend's dog. There's a lot of factors to consider. I do believe and I promote dogs fuel off of energy. So if your energy conveys any form of nervousness, especially, that's a trigger for an animal to go into the defense. Because remember, they're creatures of nature. So what happens in nature, their prey drive is driven by the fear of the rodents that run beside them. When a rodent, such as a rat or a rabbit, is running from an animal, there's a lot of adrenaline, right? So the energy and everything. So it's different from if a rodent, a rabbit, or what have you, is eating, some leaves or just calm, collective, versus the dog triggers the animal to have to flee. The energy is going to be different. So what happens is, by nature, based on their internal prey drive, they're going to be triggered based on all of the adrenaline and the energy and everything like that that's being released from the animal. So one of the best things, and it's one of the most difficult things to do, is in the midst of an attack, you got to remain calm. Because one of the things that the animal tends to do, the animal being the dog, they'll tend to cease once they feel they've dominated the prey. But as long as the prey is in movement, it's going to trigger that desire. Some dogs, depending on if they were bred for show and or work, if it's a prey-driven dog, more funny, more driven in a more fun manner, would respond different than if a dog was bred for work. A working dog is a harder dog to fight against because they're going to be triggered by all of that. A lot of that defense that you try to, by defending yourself and a lot of movement is going to trigger the animal to want to continuously attack. And you got to understand there's different forms of attack. You have attacks that deal with how would I say, like a confidence, like not a confident, but I would say, well, back to the whole prey thing. If you have a dog that's bred for a specific purpose, like show, they're not gonna be as intense, versus a dog that you wind up breeding for civil. Civil, even though the word is a play of word, civil is actually a more aggressive, uncontrollable type of demeanor. See what I'm saying? So if you're dealing with a civil dog, as you're fighting the dog back, it might trigger the dog to continue to pursue the fight. And so that's important to comprehend and understand. A lot of dogs will do it out of fear. Most of your attack is a fear. So you're not going to get these major punctures, but you might get a lot of little nips and scratches or what have you when there's a fear factor. A fear factor could be you walking up, the dog feels cornered, the dog retaliates and flees. Wolves are known for that. You know what I'm saying? The wild animals like that, they'll hit and try to get out of your way. However, there are dogs that are working for working purposes that will actually, bite and be triggered by the fight. While the show dog may do a little something, but it would be more out of a play perspective. So to really answer that is kind of difficult because there's so many scenarios. All right, I remember there was a situation where there was some dogs fighting, and I was able to there were times when I had to grab the testicles of the animal, try to grab the dog off of his tail. You try to create different factors to kind of distract the attack. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so it's important to understand that the scenario will determine that. One of the best things I would tell you is, in the midst of it, try to remain calm. Your high pitches aren't going to help. It's just going to show a distressed rodent or rabbit or what have you in distress, triggering the desire to continue to fight. So a quiet, calm demeanor. Are you going to get hurt? Possibly, but not as bad as if you fight. And a lot of it has to do with the blood drive of the animal. Understand what I'm saying? Any questions? Any other questions on that? Any questions came through here? Right, cool. All right, guys. Well, listen. Again, YouTube, we appreciate you for tuning in. Share the information to those that you feel can benefit from it. We're looking forward again to helping you with your four-legged companion. Anything, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll share with you to the best of our knowledge. And listen, I'm going to tell you this. One thing that I've learned a long time ago. A team learns how to play with the team. Sometimes, you may have, like say, for an example, in basketball, you may have somebody that's very proficient at the line, while others on the 3-point line, while you have others underneath the basket or what have you. I'm not a sport guy, so I'm just kind of out there. But one thing that I found out is that I don't know everything in the industry, but I am surrounded with a good core around me, mentors that I highly esteem and respect. There's a question that I don't have a problem passing the ball, getting to understand how they're doing and bringing it back to you. All right? So please feel free to reach out to me. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, and if I can't help you, part of my team will get back to you. All right, guys? Thank you.